the next use case is we're going to go on the other side of the spectrum. We're going to work with a really mature brand. Okay, so this brand is on the other side of the bureaucracy spectrum, right? Bigger brand, so they've been around for 40 years. So you can imagine there's a lot more bureaucracy. So anything and doing anything in the brand is an act of Congress, right? So it'll take a long time to make decisions. Okay, so think of that kind of a brand. Okay, so it's been around for a long time. About $1+ billion and a couple of $1 billion in run rate. A lot of stores, actual physical stores, about 200 stores nationally, e-com stores. A lot of these people, in fact, would have had a call center. I mean, if you go back 10 years, people would call and place orders from the catalog and stuff like that. So they even probably have still a call center operation. So they're carrying a lot of history with them. The burden of history is still on their shoulders, right? But revenue is flatlining. So it's still, a healthy brand. A lot of money is still, being made, but it's not growing as fast as, like, for example, the DTC brands are growing 2x, 3x every year, right? Or 30, 40, 50% every year. These are probably like 2%, 5%. They're more or less flat brands. They're kind of in stasis state, right? Because, maybe it's because they're trying to figure out how to grow and they don't know, right? Big customer file, because they've been around forever. The customer file could be 10, 15 million customers. They have, a lot of them have churned, and typically they'll have an active file of 2, 3, 4 million customers, and then they'll have a lapsed customer file, could be another 2, 3, 4 million. So it's big customer file, okay? And again, last class, Ellen played the role. So this class, we're going to have Karl play this role of Ellen. He's going to be CMO, and it's new customer revenue small. If you remember, in the last Rashmi's business, but more than half the business was new customer revenue. Here, 90+% of the business is existing customer revenue, just existing customers just coming back to buy the products they love, and that's kind of part of their identity. What kind of clothes they wear is they go to Chico's, that's what they wear. They go to J.Jill, that's what they wear. Right? So it's kind of how they think about their own identity. So people keep coming back and buying the same line over and over again, right? Small portion is new customers, right? Okay. A big budget, $200 million budget. Big portion of it is existing customer spend. Usually a big portion of this is catalog, but 90% of this would be sending those big fat catalogs. In the US market, is very, very popular. It was invented by, I don't know if it's invented, but it was made very popular by a company called Sears, and they would send a catalog of everything you would look up, and they will call the call center and make a buy. It's still around. People still use catalogs. It's very popular. They managed to a different metric, not cost per acquisition, but a profit metric, because now they're older brands. They actually have to make money. It's not run on venture capital. So they have to actually make money to pay all these people. And they probably have investors that they have to pay dividends to and stuff like that. So they managed to a higher order profit metric in this particular case. Okay. Again, let's Karl, what do you want to think? Is it February? Is it June? What time frame?
Let's do June.
Okay, it's now. Okay, so it's today. And so Karl is the CMO of this brand, okay? And let me come off a slideshow here. How do I do that? Okay, Karl is the CMO of this brand. He's been there for 10 years. And he reports to a CEO. Her name is Susan. And it's the climate, right? The climate for this year right now is profitability, right? Everybody wants to drive profit because of the economy and everything. They're not willing to invest. They want to take profits out, right? And so the CEO, Susan, is choking Karl for profitability. She got choked by the board, and obviously she's coming to Karl and saying, marketing budgets, because I need to show more profit. And Karl is like, if you got marketing budgets, the revenue will go down. It doesn't make any sense. We can't do that. And he's built up the marketing program over the last 10 years. It's his baby. So he really cares about every single dollar you spend. Every single person he knows their family. So he is very proud, and is a lot of pride in the program he's built. Okay. All right. So Karl, I think, where are you right now? Where am I meeting you? Am I meeting in a coffee shop, in your office? Where am I meeting you?
Oh, we're in the office.
Okay. And is it New York, San Francisco? Where are we?
We'll do New York.
New York. Okay. So it's morning in New York, and he is tense, and I'm at his office and say, hey, Karl, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate the time. You look a little tense. What's going on?
Well, things are changing. I mean, basically, the business is a little tight. We're healthy, but we're not growing at the same pace as some of these, D2C companies that are always making headlines. And there are some concerns. So right now, my CEO wants me to find about $30 million I can drop from my bottom line spend without losing any revenue, of course. So it's really
How-
frustrating. We've spent a lot of time building out our marketing infrastructure, and to have a zero impact cut of such magnitude is a big threat.
Oh, but that's really hard to find. We've also optimized the budgets over the last, 12 months or so. So, there's not a lot of fat in the budgets, I assume. But okay, so about 70% of your budgets is catalog. If you wanted to save dollars, probably there's $140 million of catalog spend. And that's the
Mhm.
first place to go. Is that what we're looking at? Trying to figure out how can we drop catalog dollars and maybe replace them with Facebook dollars? Is that
Well,
what's
so here's the challenge. I mean, yeah, it is expensive, and that's kind of part of our brand. People expect that big, heavy catalog. It's pricey media. It's worked for us for my tenure here at this company, but it is leveling off in terms of return. So with that, we're thinking about how we reach our customers. And overall, we've got a customer database of about 10 million names.
Okay. Now, a lot of clients that I have, Carl, what they're finding is that if you take your customer file, do RFM segmentation, you could find that some of those segments will respond to digital touch points like Facebook or
Mhm.
email just as much as catalog touch points. Not uniformly across the file, but you will find pockets. That's an option. We could go test for that. Would that be
Mhm.
interesting to you?
Yeah, definitely interesting. I mean, if it's a shallow pond to fish from, and we can see a turnaround quickly, it's huge because, to be quite honest, we're not sending out catalogs every single day. And anything that we can test in a more nimble fashion, especially in a targeted fashion like that, sounds quite appealing.
Okay. So the quick answer there is that if people are engaged with you online, there's a likelihood that they will just respond to advertising online. Okay, so we could potentially look for a swap of catalog impressions for Facebook impressions. You could lot of brands are seeing efficiencies that way. That's something we could test for that. Let me also ask you: is your CEO really adamant on cutting budgets, or will she take revenue dollars as opposed to spend dollars? Can we find top line for her, and will she be happy with that?
If we can demonstrate that that top line growth was related to marketing, then there's a case.
To be made. Okay. So you have a big customer file. There's probably about 2 million, 3 million lapsed customers in the last 12 to 24 months. Now we can take a sample panel of those customers and hit them up on Facebook. And there's a really good likelihood you'll find that it's cheaper to activate lapsed customers than to get new customers, acquire new customers. That's something that we can test reasonably quickly. Would that be interesting?
Definitely, and especially if using our definition of lapsed, people who are so far back that they don't necessarily get a fresh catalog quite as often. I want to watch out for confounding errors. So basically, using our current definition of lapsed and targeting them with digital seems to fit an experimental design that I can get behind.
Okay, awesome. So there are two test objectives here. I just want to address here. One is taking your existing active customers, testing them with Facebook instead of catalog. That's one test. A second test is lapsed customers and testing them on Facebook. Those are two tests we could run. And are you on board trying both?
I am. In order for us to make the case that this top line growth is equivalent to, or could, get me out of this expectation of cutting, we will need to show results before the next catalog cycle.
Oh, I see. Okay, but when is the next drop for you? When is the next chance for us to affect the catalog drop? Is it
Yeah, that's about 6 months out. We're looking at the holiday season.
ouch? But we can't test in the holiday season, can we?
It's a pricey time to be buying media.
So very likely we have to test in Q1. and let's say the results come back even late Q1, the best chance for you to affect it would be like mid 2024. Is Susan going to be happy if you go back with saying, okay, I'll save you dollars in 2024 and you can't do anything for this year? Is she going to be okay with that outcome?
It's going to be a tough conversation.
Okay. But on the other hand, the lapsed customer thing, we can test that next week. We could come back with a design next week and potentially test that. That seems
Exactly.
okay. All right. Okay, sir. So there are two test designs, one for lapsed customers, one for existing customers. Let me come back with a design. Would you want to go run this by Susan and see if she is where her head is at with respect to what might be more interesting for her?
Definitely. Let's work together a bit on a few slides so we can frame up what this looks like. And also there's some context setting because she and I haven't spoken about really how much time it would take to demonstrate that cost cutting the catalog would have the effect or not have the effect that she's hoping to. So having these two conversations at the same time will I think land well.
Okay, so you are a big business. You're 1.2, $1.3 billion business. How much efficiencies do we have to show to even for this to be even a meaningful thing to like execute? Is it like a couple of $1 million? Does it have to be $30 million? How much money do we have to save or show in terms of top line growth or in terms of efficiencies, in terms of spend efficiencies that is even worth testing?
Sure. In terms of catalog changes, I'd say we need to be able to demonstrate at least $5 million of savings. In terms of top line revenue lift, well, we might not realize it all at the same time. The test against the sample, magnified by the opportunity pool of our remaining user base, should have a magnitude of estimated effect around 20 million in revenue lift. We're trying to convince her out of this 30. If we can't show that the opportunity is at least 20 million estimated, then that's going to be a challenge.
Okay, awesome. Okay, got that. Let me go work on the design. So, very likely what we'll do is we'll probably fill out a very similar requirement sheet for catalog and CRM testing. And this is kind of what then we'll go out and use for feasibility analysis. Okay, so let me pause.